how you said that, love is a chemical and all that stuff from earlier? Well, I was thinking, could you make some sort of chemical thing happen inside of Jessica's mind, so where she falls in love with me and all that sort of thing? Like maybe some sort of love potion or something?
Morty, that's such a poor use of my time. It's beneath me. Hand me the screwdriver.
You know what? No, Rick. I'm not going to hand you the screwdriver. I'm not going to hand you anything ever again, Rick. I'm always helping you with this and that and the other thing. Well, what about me, Rick? Why can't you just help me out once? For once.
You're growing up fast, Morty. You're growing into a real big thorn straight up into my cheat codes.
It's June 23rd, 2016. Welcome to episode 101 of the Cheat Codes Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We're always glad to have you with us. The next hour is us drinking a few beers and going over our favorite bits from the past week in video game, tech, and pop culture news. My name is Joe Erskine, and we're coming to you from inside a hobo's body. We're super small and enjoying an amusement park that's about to turn on us in a sort of inner space / Jurassic Park kind of way. Today I'm here with Cheat Codes editor Mr. Joe Squanchy Arroyo.
Squanch.
Cheat Codes contributor Mr. Nick Bird Person Golish.
Hey, how's it going?
And Cheat Codes community manager Mr. Chris Meeseeks Morris.
Yeah, dude.
And we're honored to be welcoming co-founder of Bosky Studios, proud papa of the Gears of War franchise, Unreal alumnus, and Mr. Dude Huge himself, Mr. Cliff Rick Bleszinski.
It's, great to be here, guys.
Today on the show, we'll get oddly sentimental with a Hitler-Abraham Lincoln hybrid at a house party to get to the main topics. Elite Dangerous's AI is alive and it's coming for all of us. Maybe the recent Game of Thrones episode, Battle of the Bastards battle scene can teach us something about game development. And to round out the main topics, remember when your mom thought playing Dungeons & Dragons made you a devil worshiper? Oh, the good old days. And for today's lightning round, we'll spend an entire afternoon at Bips and Chits to sort out the following bits. What if South Park left TV and was just various video games from here on out? Perish the thought. And lastly, Mark Zuckerberg might not be a lizard. Maybe. Cliff, thanks so much for being here, man. Coming off the heels of E3 and all the current alpha testing you guys are doing on Lawbreakers, I imagine you're a pretty busy man. But we appreciate you taking the time. We're excited to talk to you and share a few drinks.
It's good to be here.
First off, and before we move on, thank you for trolling Chris all the time on Facebook to get you on the show. It's always entertaining for us to read that shit. But that being said, and speaking of E3, tell us a little about what you were excited about and what you saw, or just pitch the hell out of Lawbreakers if you want.
I'm not pitching the game. I just came off a week of pitching it to jaded journalists. Like,
fair enough.
I wound up doing a VR demo that was nauseating, to say the least. I'm not going to name names and put anybody on blast, but I felt so sick that I felt a little evil doing my next interviews, because it was like I had a jaded Frenchman and then like a cynical Brit at the last moment, where I was just like basically getting the spins and totally sober from a bad VR demo. And no, E3, it's fucking awesome. I realized I've gone to every E3 ever, and if you want to find out about the game, Google it, and et cetera, go to YouTube, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean it's been honestly a long career and a lifelong dream to get to the point where I can actually be on the fucking Cheat Codes podcast.
Well, we're very happy to oblige, and we're, like I said, man, we're glad that you're here and helping us out doing the show. So thank you, man. We appreciate it.
It's always fun just shooting the shit with cool people.
Thank you.
Right on. You're cool.
Very quickly, let's talk about what we're washing the episode down with. Like a drunk revolutionary scientist and inventor probably does, we take cues from the immutable Rick. He drinks to deal with his supreme capability and his wacky adventures. We drink to make sense of all the latest madness in the world of video games and beyond. So tonight we're enjoying a few romantic chemistry IPAs from Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. That worked out way better than I thought it was going to be.
Way better.
There's some apricot, mango, and ginger. It's nice.
Thanks, Jerry.
All right, so let's get to the meat and potatoes here, gentlemen.
Number one.
A quote-unquote bug apparently manifested in Elite Dangerous after a recent update that's had its AI begin building mega weapons and hunting human players. Seriously. Aside from being able to pull players out of hyperspace, the new and improved AI also had access to the crafting features of the game and started wrecking shit, essentially.
Dun, 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 dun.
Insert Skynet jokes here. I mean, holy shit! This is also kind of badass and scary at the same time. I want to know, before we get into the heart of this, Cliff, have you ever heard or seen anything in your career from an AI standpoint that ever reacted in a way like this, like pre-ship or post-ship?
Well, I mean, when I first picked up the Dreamcast and I learned that it was thinking, that was pretty sobering. It's thinking. The sentient game box. Yeah, not really. I mean, when an AI does something that surprises you, it's interesting. Nothing anywhere close to sentience. It's not like we're doing neural nets and shit over here. We're making shooty games. But, when the robots come for us, I'm going to blame Boston fucking Dynamics.
Okay.
Because, like, the robot kicking has to stop. And like they're gonna implant that in the robot's memory, and then the robot's just gonna remember the times it was treated like shit with the guy with the hockey stick, and they're just gonna come for us, and they're just gonna dismantle all of us.
You're gonna be like those dogs that like end up biting you after a while, except way, way worse because humanity is gonna come to a close.
You notice I said dismantle because the robot would not say kill; they would say, "I'm going to dismantle you,
turn you off." Yeah,
I'm going to turn your power off now.
They'll just turn the tides on us basically and make us almost pick up boxes repeatedly and then kick it out from underneath us for eternity.
Right.
That's essentially all we're gonna do is get kicked over.
Sounds like
by
hell
robots.
on earth.
Yeah.
Let's watch them try to regain their balance. It's like,
Yeah, let's just constantly throw you off balance repeatedly. Thanks for that.
I'm not entirely unconvinced that Elon Musk isn't right, that we're already living in the Matrix, so this may be the next logical step.
that makes a certain amount of sense. We actually talked about that on our last episode.
Yeah.
Episode 100, and his breakdown of how everything's a simulation and time is a wheel.
Well, I have a theory. So you guys obviously played Grand Theft Auto, right? Talking about AI and everything, right? And the realization when I was in GTA, and I remember seeing cars coming for me, and I turned the other way, and then turned back, and it was a different set of cars, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're just spawning random cars. And so I have this theory that, like, on my way to work all the time, it's always a goddamn RAV4. RAV4s are not a bad vehicle. They're just the perfect vehicle for when you have absolutely nowhere to be fast. Going 30 and a fucking 45. And so I had a whole gallery in my personal Facebook where I was saying always behind a RAV4. And I started noticing the same license plates at different times and different routes within town. And, like, Raleigh's big enough that that's weird. So I have a theory that we're in the Matrix and the RAV4 is the filler car for the Matrix.
So wait,
or at the very least, the black cat that keeps appearing like
AI
over and over
overlord
again.
is torturing you with these RAV4s, just like playing with your emotions and getting off on it.
Or
Fuck
you
you,
might
Toyota.
just Cliff, you might just be in the Truman Show.
Yeah, I was thinking
we're
the
all
Truman, yeah.
We're all in on it.
Going back to AI, it's one of those things that if the AI actually becomes sentient and looks at how humanity is a beautiful thing, but it's also inherently flawed, I could see how one could get to the conclusion that, we should probably go.
It's time for a new top of the food chain.
You had a good run.
Yeah. It's over. What were you going to say, Nick? Yeah.
Oh, I was saying his analogy, the Truman Show, is like spot on because there's a specific scene in there where he's driving down the road and it's blocked by traffic because they set it up, and then he turns around and comes back and it's completely gone. It's
all
like,
gone. Yeah.
It just reminded me of when you told the Grand Theft Auto story. The cars disappear.
Which that movie absolutely holds up and is worth watching again. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Truman Show's good stuff. There's only one other actor I think who went from like the comedian standpoint to straight up like dramatic actor, and Robin Williams, rest in peace.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Okay, so let's get back to why people thought this AI specifically is like reaching Skynet level, even though that's a complete and utter ridiculous exaggeration of the scenario.
It's hyperbole for sure.
It was just, you
On
give
the
them
internet?
crafting.
No way.
Yeah. If you give an AI crafting capabilities and you give it some type of algorithm that's goal is to maximize its utility of some sort, like the damage it's going to do, it's going to figure out a way to fucking make something you probably didn't intend.
Like pulse rate fucking
machine guns,
rail guns and shit. You know what I mean? Like unbelievable. I mean, they've since taken this update down because they realized that it was kind of like fucked up, and their community manager had a bunch of fun kind of explaining like, we're pretty sure it's not Skynet, but whatever. Like it's kind of a cool thing to kind of just see like a bunch of talented developers create a situation where this can even just be a thing.
Well, I think it all stems from the point where somebody in the community like complained about it, and the developers were like, "Oh, it's not supposed to do that." And everyone's like, "Oh, it's doing it by itself. It's AI now. It's like it's coming up with its own
like
thing."
your biggest enemy is going to come up to you and say, "Fuck off." It's going to be like Mars attacks, where they're just like, we come in pieces. They're shooting all of you, right?
right, exactly.
Do you guys remember the story from Oblivion's development where they were like touting this like radiant AI, and they had this crazy story of like how NPCs were trying to optimize their schedules, and you'd have like thief characters sneaking around like trying to find something to eat, but they had no money, so they're like breaking into people's homes and like taking their apples. And it was just like
what?
They had to reel that back. It's like, where did this fucking NPC go? Like, we can't find it. It's like halfway across the world, like in some dude's like house, like grabbing an apple off of his counter.
That's fucking
it's like
crazy.
This is what that sort of like reminds me of in a way.
Yeah, no, totally.
It's way less like if someone breaks into my house and steal an apple, that's way less nefarious than a dude like pulling me out of warp and like blowing up my spaceship.
But the thing is, imagine when we get to the point where we have, robots that are everyday parts of our lives, much like our smartphones or nobody wants a smart TV, but assume that for a second. And, they're unloading your dishwasher or God knows whatever happens. And something, is twisted in the code or hacking or whatever. And then it just starts propagating, considering the basic variables for AI and instructions. And then it's conceivable that some really scary shit could happen.
Sure.
Well, that's big fear behind automated cars also in some ways. Like people.
Well, we were talking about Tesla earlier while we were eating, and like dudes just like, sitting back, like yawning, like making exaggerated hand movements while the car drives. Like that car, like one of these days could be like sick of your shit and it's gonna just like right off the road in the ditch. You're done. It's like, yeah, fucking asshole. That's what you get for not keeping your hands on the wheel.
Yeah, you lazy piece of shit.
Making me do all the fucking driving.
No, it's an appropriate assumption, I think. I get that, but again, back not to like rehash like similar conversation, but this is why Elon and those guys like doing the Open AI initiative are trying to be like, maybe we should keep an eye on this. You know what I mean? And even Google turning around being like, oh, we have a kill switch for the AI, but don't worry, it only works for some of the algorithms, not all of it. So
only the ones that would harm you. I don't really
exactly.
know how that works.
It's kind of weird.
Trust us. Everything will be fine with your data.
This is something that
pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I
think Nick Bostrom, the professor's been, talking about how we can't control AI no matter how much we want to.
Yeah.
And then you got Ray Kurzweil who thinks that this is a utopian future, and they just clash constantly about the capabilities of building this kind of AI. And it's just it's. Let's just start with games,
right?
Clearly it is. It's always utopian, and then it becomes dystopian. It's just, sometimes the past can predict the future in regards to, like, there's this really old 80s AT&T commercial where they're like, have you ever made a phone call, like a video call from, like, a phone booth? And, like, they were actually partially right because, well, look at what we're doing right now. And, like, the fact that in our pockets we have these devices that are capable of, finding the answer to almost everything human history has found, and, you're busy on fucking Snapchat.
Yeah, usually. I'm proud to say I don't use Snapchat, but
I think that dick pics are like a way good use of like all of this amazing technology.
No, I wouldn't say good. I'd say inevitable.
Society has like culminated into like
it's the time to penis, right?
Being able to send
TTC
people easier.
I just love the unsolicited dick pic where it's like, a girl be sitting at home just minding her own business. She gets a DM. She's like, wow, that's a lovely dick. I think I'm just going to go over and catch a ride. That doesn't happen.
Take note, everybody.
Out of 1,000, it'll work. That's what that guy's hoping. He's like, all right.
It's a numbers game,
I'm at 999. All right, this next one, it's going to be it.
All right. The girl's like, my boyfriend cheated on me. Fine, I'll just go for that dick.
Morris, you don't play roulette, all right? Because little do you know that the odds are the same every time, regardless.
It doesn't even out either way.
Sorry, man. On the 1,000th time, it's still the same.
Still the same odds as the first time.
I'm feeling lucky. I'm going to be in a hot streak. Yeah.
but it's been red. Yeah, it's been red every time.
All right.
What's our TTC on this episode?
12 minutes.
12 minutes. Yeah, TTC is 12 minutes. We're time to cock. Yeah.
Slightly less boxy.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. I haven't messed with Elite in a while. But I mean, and I know that even going back to it now would be, pointless because this is gone. Although I'm sure it's worth playing. I don't know. I kind of want them to bring this back just as like its own like separate thing, just to like let it see how far it goes. Like it's contained space. You never know. It's fine. Like I'm curious. I genuinely am.
You got to have the Google kill switch for it, man. You got to stop it now while you can.
Sounds like they did.
Example of the AI.
That's right. Put it in its place.
And all the other AI.
Just take artificial intelligence. Make it actual stupidity.
Take a pirate approach and just like hang the dead AI out in front of the posts, so all the other AI can see it.
Right. Put the body on the front of the ship as you parade around.
Then just be like, think about that.
Right. Keep that shit in mind. All right.
Number 2.
Doing a ghost.
Full disclosure, this next topic is based on 2 things. First, the latest Game of Thrones episode, and that being said, we're going to talk about a specific scene and try to keep spoilers to a minimum. But
fuck off.
if this affects your
you haven't watched it now, fuck off. I'm playing Thrones.
As I was saying, if this affects your delicate sensibilities, then jump 15 minutes ahead to the next topic. So no offense intended, none taken on our part, we get it. Second, based on the behind-the-scenes revelations about the production of this particular Battle of the Bastards sequence, it turns out making shows is a lot like game development.
Surprise.
Not a difficult leap to make, I'm sure. So here's us talking about Game of Thrones and, game development, and then see if we can draw a proper corollary. If you're willing to listen to this part of the show, we recommend that, or we have to full disclosure here and say that we did pull this from a BuzzFeed article, so don't judge us.
No, it wasn't just that. It was BuzzFeed at maximum BuzzFeed, where BuzzFeed took a behind-the-scenes video by HBO or Variety,
and then
they just
repurposed it
frame by framed it for people who are too fucking lazy. To watch
Exactly.
That's my favorite thing about it.
So don't judge us, but we have good reason for what we did.
If it's any consolation, we watched the video.
We did watch. Well, that's the real jumping off point. It just happened to occur through a BuzzFeed article. Right. So, basic facts. All right. So we're going to talk specifically about the battle itself, like Jon Snow's big assault and Sansa Stark's big assault to reclaim Winterfell. Statistically speaking, the shoot took about 25 days. They cast over 500 extras, about 80 horses, 65 stunt actors, and 4 different camera crews. And I just want one question answered before we move on. Is angry Jon Snow dumb Jon Snow? Or is it the other way around?
Well, he was never that smart to begin with.
Well, he knows nothing.
See? Exactly. There you go.
The internet video that went around where they took the Battle of the Bastards and they put the overdub of the Leroy Jenkins video in it.
I did not watch that.
I didn't see that one.
That's so perfect.
Yeah, that works
poetic.
well. That works real well.
Oh, they were doing the whole lines where people were like, Leroy, what the hell? And you saw Davos being like, what the fuck? And they sunk it up perfectly.
Yeah.
It's so good.
At least I got chicken.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how it ends.
But not to geek out for a brief second, but knowing that when they shot that scene of the wall of horses coming at him, that was a full on actual line of cavalry charging at him and not CG. But even solutions that they kind of came up with, as with game development, things don't always end up the way you start with them. If you manage to get from point A to point B, it's probably not the way you intended, but it's something that resembles a goal or a result.
It's based on budget, it's based on timing, it's based on developers being complicated, sensitive beasts, just like the horses.
I love carrots.
The whole bit about the I don't know if it's a phalanx or the sphere or circle of the shields, and the fact that it was meant to be a line of horses in some sort of arrow formation, and they're like, fuck it, we can't do that, so let's just go with this and keep it a tight shot. And so you can plan and plan and plan all you want, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of improvisation and thinking on your feet, which I think is the big takeaway when you talked about game development. I saw this note on the plan for the podcast. I was like, how the fuck are they going to make this connection? And now it's making sense now. Or, basically, sometimes you think you're going to go in a straight line, but you should zig and zag.
Right.
Oh,
poor guy.
What's Rickon's favorite band? One Direction?
Jesus Christ.
There's the other one where they had Benioff and Weiss doing the back and forth with them, and he's like, the actor's like, I hope I get some lines this season. They're like, yeah, you'll get one line.
Oh, the poor guy.
Poor Rickon.
Poor Rickon,
all right.
Indeed.
It's all right. See you later, dude.
Too soon.
Well, okay, I think this is going to be true with Hollywood in general. You're talking movies or
just a creative endeavor in general.
Okay, creative endeavor. So anything.
It goes back. It goes back to Jaws, right? If you've watched the behind the scenes of the classic shark film, the fact of the matter is, Bruce, the animatronic shark, wasn't working half the time. And because that was the case, the shark was off camera, which created a lot more tension, which created a far more memorable experience. So when you finally actually see the damn shark, it's much more impactful, right?
Sure. You could probably say, not necessarily for malfunctions, but the same way that Ridley Scott did Alien, right? There was so little showing of the xenomorph that by the time you actually do see it, you're fucking scared shitless.
Yeah, when I was doing the Gears games, I called it monster foreplay. First you see a toe, then you see an ankle, and then at the
you
end,
get a little excited.
What's up, girl?
A little spit.
The monster comes out with the Motley Crue with tassels on its nipples. That's how
I don't remember the nipple tassels on the Berserker at all, dude. Was that in the DLC?
Yeah, that was a paid DLC.
It's a hot coffee mod. You'll be fine. Don't worry.
Exactly. Real physics based, right?
I love that point though about Jaws, because in that scenario it was kind of an accidental success. Oh shit. and then
Way less
that ended up being
premeditated,
like that weakness. We somehow made it, our biggest strength in that type of film.
It's like a Jedi phrase, like take your biggest weakness and make it your strength. It's like one of the other names I was considering for the studio before I started. It was Happy Accident, and the logo was going to be
cool.
like two folks who like get in a car accident, and they get out, they're like, hey,
Oh, I thought
when the insurance goes through.
be like maybe different type of happy accident.
You mean like my mother's pregnancy with me?
She's saying,
True story. True story.
I heart you, Mom.
It worked out all right. It worked out all right.
But I mean, this is the story of every game or probably movie ever made. I mean, when has if anyone thinks that the game that they're playing was the game that was
intended from the beginning, yeah.
they're sorely off base.
Halo was an RTS.
Halo was an RTS. There you go. It's never.
And then it was a third-person game, and then they kept iterating, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was only going to run on Max. So, look where we ended.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, their initial pitch
And it
was
winds up as a
was
fucking
Mac-
Xbox game that revolutionized FPS on console. Who would have thought?
Combat evolved.
Or devolved because they took an entire generation and got them off keyboard and mouse.
present company.
That's a good plug for Lawbreakers, by the way. You should.
It paved the way for all the Call of Duty 420 YOLO kids.
Oh boy, I can't wait to go to work tomorrow. Anyway,
I just don't get it. The new consoles are computers. They could have keyboards and mice.
Yeah.
We could just play.
that's true.
Maybe that's where they're going.
It makes me
Maybe.
I
sad.
mean, I could grow dicks out of my forehead right now, but that's not happening.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you want to plug a keyboard and mouse into your computer.
Well, the goal is for stable platforms to get to back to biz here for a second.
Sure.
Like the thing that made consoles work is you didn't have to deal with like the right drivers, all the bullshit that happens on PC that makes the PC strong. And so like Google's looking to make like a mobile phone or a phone that basically is like modular, where like you never have to get a full new phone. You just update certain bits of it, kind of like puzzle style. Like that's kind of the goal. And like I told Phil Spencer when I saw him at E3 and I tweeted about it. I'm like, dude, are you going like full Sega CD 32X right now? Like, I can't keep track of what the fuck this stuff is. Like, if I can't keep track of it, I've worked in software for 20 years. Your average person's going to be confused like a motherfucker.
Well, according to them, they don't know what the hell they're talking about either. Like, if you watch their articles, they say, "Hey, buy the Slim, but don't because the next one's coming out."
Scorpio's on its way.
Scorpio's on its way.
My Microsoft friends giving mixed messaging at E3. What is this world?
Yeah, I know.
It's always online. It's not.
Look.
You can share copies. You can't. You're on a submarine. Fuck it.
I'm not going to directly talk shit, but
It's like, yeah, you got to get a 360 if you're on a submarine. Sorry, guys.
thanks, Don Matrick.
Everybody buys Scorpio unless you don't have a 4K TV. Like that was another one.
Right, because otherwise, what's the point? Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so many like do this but not this, if that, and maybe not that.
Yeah. Microsoft's going to
Thanks.
completely support both platforms, but it's up to the developers to actually create games for both.
Yeah. So Game of Thrones is cool.
I'm sorry, I wanted to rag on Microsoft a little bit because of E3.
Fair enough. Best way to deal with change? What? Just be creative and be open-minded?
Isn't that what we do every day?
And make 15 SKUs.
Yeah, I think stay liquid and understand that things are going to change. And then, when you're in a team environment, to remind people that things will change and the original vision may evolve in different directions, and make sure people just don't fucking panic, because developers are, like I said at the top, are very sensitive, folks from the land of misfit toys, and they're complicated beasts, man. And it requires a certain amount of emotional massaging in order to kind of tear band-aids off or use whatever bad metaphor.
I really love emotional massaging. Especially when it winds up in a happy ending.
Some quality commentary.
Shoulders feeling swole right there.
Thanks, man. I've been working out.
That looked a lot like physical massaging.
Yeah, that was less emotional and more like direct contact.
It's one and the same.
It's emotional if you're talking while you're giving a massage.
That's true.
I've been lifting Jira tasks.
All right, but if we're gonna kind of like wrap this in a pretty bow for the listener here, go watch the latest episode of Game of Thrones. You could even probably watch it as a standalone, because fuck it.
We're just listening to the episode because we already spoiled it for you anyway.
Well,
Not really.
We didn't
We
really
didn't say
spoil
shit.
much. Okay, other than
We
Rick,
didn't talk about the dog.
other than
eating.
Rickon dying, it's fine. Yeah, but
So my point is, for me, from my perspective, is the fact of the matter is, the showrunners, plan this stuff like a year in advance. They're in the middle of like God knows where, Ireland or Iceland or fuck all. and they've got like, you know, hundreds of people out there, crew members, bunch of fucking horses, and the director has to be like, okay, let's make this work, and then something's not working, he's gonna be like, fuck, let's wing it. And like, you know, it's tough when you're in game development, you have a team of 20, 40, 100, 200 people, but to have it like when they're all sitting there freezing their butts off and they're waiting to go to the craft services table, and it's on you, it's like no pressure, right? So my point is, if you pirate Game of Thrones, you're a fucking dick.
Well, okay, but I'm not. I agree with everything you said, and for the most part, and except for that last part, even HBO doesn't mind that people pirate.
They care. They're just that's totally a community.
But they understand that it's also kind of. I'm generally curious for the sake of conversation.
HBO's the corporate overlord that's counting the beans and making sure they get impressions. So some impressions are good that people might eventually pay for the goddamn thing. And I understand that you know their whole setup is like messed up with you need your subscription and blah blah blah, and you know, Game of Thrones pays for vinyl and shows like that were terrible. But it's kind of the system that they're stuck with over at Warner Brothers. You know, I'm happy that they're trying to work towards ways that you can get the show a la carte and not actually have to. But I'll tell you, when you get a show like this that's been going on that long, you can bet your ass that, like, if possible, my ass is going to be seated on my sofa at 9 o'clock on Sundays. I'm going to be there watching it, like, with everyone else in the world because I'm just so madly in love with it.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. I'm waiting for the books,
which is why there's no fucking reason why we can't spoil this. Because if you really respected the show and you're a fan of the show and you don't, then you've already seen it. And if you're not,
if you don't give a shit and you're on the internet at all, like it's at the point where like it's such a phenomenon, like the whole Hodor memes, like you can't miss that. Like it's gonna spoil it. You're gonna figure it out. Like fucking watch the show.
It's like IKEA Hodor. I don't understand.
Why is there a door jam?
I don't get it.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
We have one 3D printed.
Of course you do. God damn it.
There's one final thing. I mean, directly related to one of the things that they did that actually reminds me of the Joss point that Cliff made, which was that the whole suffocation scene. That for me, when I watched that battle, was one of my favorite parts of the entire scene.
That shit was intense.
It was insanely claustrophobic. It was very difficult to watch, and it was the key point of tension for the whole thing for me. But it was an accident that they did.
That is a scene you haven't seen depicted in a lot of like Braveheart or medieval warfare about like a battle so big that the bodies are stacked and people are climbing over them, that people actually get suffocated by the bodies. Imagine like you're going to battle for honor. You're hoping if heaven forbid you die, you're going to die like in this amazing moment of like glory where you just charge the bad guys and everything. It's like, no, you just suffocated underneath someone's fucking farts.
Yeah. And probably your own like guys, your own friends and
shit. Terrible. But
fucking Ramsey sitting there like barraging arrows on his own troops as well as and just choking it out. Like,
is this like a really like poignant like thing about like choking under the pressure of like insurmountable odds?
Well, look. So you know what, Chris? I'm gonna go down this road with you very briefly for a second. The fact that any kind of creative endeavor starts with nothing, is literally created out of fucking thin air, then yeah, absolutely it is, because either you choke or you don't. Like the struggle and the willpower it takes to make something out of nothing. There are probably more times than not that it could fall apart, or you could literally kill yourself or die or want to kill someone else that would directly affect the production and creation of this thing, whatever it might be, a show, a movie, a game. Ultimately, the fact that anything like this ever comes out at all, an episode, a movie, or a game, is a fucking miracle as far as I'm concerned. Like having X amount of people get together and come together and manage to put something like a unified project out despite whatever happens behind the scenes, it's a fucking miracle. It's an amazing thing.
And there's still going to be somebody on YouTube going, this is dumb.
Yep. Every time. Thanks, internet. Yeah. No, absolutely.
I love how noble you made us sound, and at the end of the day, I just get to make fucking video games for a living, which is
it's a pretty great thing.
Which is great. But yes, you're not wrong either. I'm just saying.
Well, you play in a banjo, right? And it's like the fact that you have like even 4 guys sitting on stage and creating something and making noise that sounds pretty good. But you're playing in sync and you're making things. Well,
you make noise that sounds pretty good.
I make pretty good noise.
They're an in sync cover band,
right? Exactly.
You got it.
Yeah. Yep.
One Direction.
That's all directions. The fact that happens at all is a pretty incredible thing. Like no matter what kind of spiritual bullshit you subscribe to, it's an incredible thing.
I'm addicted to creation, and I think probably everyone here is the same way.
We do what we do because of that very thing, is the importance of making something and feeling creative.
It's the cycle of having the spark, the inception, and like when you have an idea and then you start moving towards it, and then other people gravitate towards it, and then it starts like becoming a reality, and then eventually you share it with other people and they hopefully like it, and if they do like it, that's a high unlike any other.
Yep.
I totally agree.
It's like going to a good concert. It's like going to church, man. It's a spiritual experience. You know what I mean? There you go.
Oh my god.
You can merge the two with like a Christian rock concert.
Then it really is going to church.
Faith plus one.
Go full striper.
All right.
Number 3.
We're all old enough to maybe, except for Chris, maybe, but we're all old enough to remember when a few people screwed
We're
up.
like the same fucking age.
Don't dig into Morty.
We're all old enough to remember when a few people screwed up something great for the rest of us, or when parents in the land panic because there's a challenge to the beautiful little bubble they've created around their kids. Nowadays, things like Game of Thrones are pop culture currency, and those things inspired it are just as revered. Tolkien, whatever you want to reference here. But there was a time when that wasn't the case. The struggle was real, and once upon a time, to make Dungeons and Dragons of all things relevant. Back in the 70s and 80s, while this tabletop role-playing game, it was a concept that was not very familiar to very many people, but it spawned a lot of really close-minded outcries from news organizations and parents that assumed that because of a couple kids fucking ruined it for everybody else, decided that
the case. It wasn't just like D&D, and although we can focus on D&D, it was the fact of the matter is, like, in the late 70s, early 80s, there was that idea of a satanic panic.
Right.
The fact that, like, it was a new version of, like, almost, it didn't go that far, obviously, but like the Salem witch trials, where people are just assuming that there's some sort of massive conspiracy out there where people are just like murdering babies in cabins in the woods with rituals or something like that. There's never been any proof of that or anything actually confirmed with that. And there's been like movies made about that. Like, I think I can't remember one of the Eli Roth ones that was made about the people, like,
Cabin Fever, no? Or
no, it was House of the Devil.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
It wasn't Eli Roth. It was one of those movies that ended with like a big satanic baby being born in the woods and kind of confirming, like, people's fears about that. But it goes back to everything. It goes back Elvis, rock and roll, Harry fucking Potter, violent video games. There's always something for every generation. The Beatles back in the day,
Yep. Paul is dead.
And they just, they retreat into their little suburban bubbles and just, kind of hope, like, if the kids don't find any sort of evil or whatever they think evil is, and ultimately the kids will find things, and most of the time the kids are okay,
I think the problem is that they didn't have YouTube back then, because otherwise they would have seen these fucking dudes running through the forest going, magic missile, and they'd be like, don't think we really have much to worry about. Not like we thought.
Instead, it's like my son and his friends disappear into a room for a long period of time, and whenever I check on them to give them pretzels, they're all gathered around a table saying weird shit to each other. This sounds creepy.
Lightning bolt.
Yeah. And the lights are down, and it's
apparently mom would have been more comfortable if they'd just been raiding dad's Playboy stash. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been more acceptable than a tabletop role playing game.
I don't know. This is America, where, like, when I was 12 years old, they showed me RoboCop and it was fine. But if I saw European Vacation and the girl showed her boobs to Rusty, I'd have a coat over my head in the movie theater.
That's right. That's right. That's a whole another argument, I think, about like the MPAA and the whole distinction between violence and sex. But I think the point that you were making earlier, Cliff, was that there's always going to be something, right? Like, we saw this shit with like Marilyn Manson. We saw this shit with I don't know you could probably say it's probably Trump now, but who the fuck knows? Like,
don't go there.
I'm not going to go there. But what were you going to say, Nick? Go ahead.
Well, I just say you meet him halfway. You watch Starship Troopers, where you got the boobs and the gore.
There you go. Thanks, Paul Verhoeven for the win, everybody.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, didn't the RoboCop director direct that, or no? It was Terminator or something.
I think the writer was similar, but
Okay,
I could be wrong about that too. But
Yeah, Verhoeven was involved in that, though. Make no mistake.
for sure.
It had that. Yeah, it had a little bit of the RoboCop vibe, that kind of "Would you like to know more?" satire.
It was exactly that. Yeah, it was good.
So this is just it's just history repeating itself. Is that we're already at that?
I think that's kind of the conclusion.
Because we're in the Matrix.
Okay, see, it's just black cat bullshit. There you go.
There's always something
I
satanic.
didn't grow up in the 70s and the 80s, but I still wasn't allowed to play Dungeons and Dragons. And in fact, when I was in elementary school and Magic the Gathering started taking off, we had cards get confiscated if we got playing with them. And, like, who knows what happened to them. I, like, kind of think back to some of the cards that got confiscated back then. Be like, damn, dude, I would just, like, pay off my student loans with those things.
My main question is, did your pogs get confiscated?
Ooh,
my pogs did get confiscated, actually. Yeah, pogs got confiscated. We weren't really doing anything satanic with those, though, so I'm not sure why they got confiscated.
mine was a Bart Simpson T-shirt. If you wore a Bart Simpson T-shirt to school, you got in trouble. So
Underachiever and proud of it.
don't have a cow, man.
God, I was in like fourth grade, and this one kid wound up wearing a shirt that was for Sex Wax, which is the surfing kind of.
Yeah, the label, yeah.
and the best wax for your stick. Hook. Yeah, see what you did there. And, you wound up having to like turn it inside out and got in trouble for it.
That's ridiculous because it's like it's fucking wax.
Yeah, No Fear did that same
wax,
shit.
like, or
No Fear did the same shit.
It's not like it's like
surfboard.
personal lubricant.
Won't someone think of the children?
Exactly. But as as we get farther and farther away from this, I feel like the increments of time in between these kind of like outcries for fucking decency or whatever the hell you want to call it become longer and longer, or am I just getting older and can't tell time anymore?
I hadn't thought about that, but you see, as the technology becomes more and more advanced and people become more connected and less, aka fucking ignorant.
Yeah.
They actually see what it's all about because back in the day, parents would be like, "There's something I don't know. It's the unknown. I don't understand it. It's probably bad for my kids." And like now, we're at a point where kids will play, whatever, or introduce it to their parents, and you also have a new generation that's getting increasingly large, where things that were considered nerdy or dorky are like becoming much more mainstream. Like Harry Potter is mainstream, but it's fucking nerdy as shit.
Sure.
The entire we have an entire Hogwarts thing at Universal now that people just go to and they bring their kids to. No one's calling it satanic now, right?
Yeah. Well, I would hope not. It's kind of ridiculous if you.
But
I mean, you could say
Harry
the same about Game of Thrones. Like like I said, it's like a pop culture currency. Like if you're a fan, then you have some sort of value or within your social circle to some degree. You know what I mean?
It's a show where tons of horrible shit happens to a lot of innocent people and lots of really fucked up shit and fantasy elements. But your average person who has a level head could be like, okay, this is fantasy. I understand the difference between fantasy and reality.
Right. It's still a TV show / movie / video game. Like it's you can label it as escapism or whatever. But Nick,
Well, I was gonna say it's fiction. Teach your kids about that instead.
right? It's
between
fucking
fiction.
make believe. Yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree.
One of the stories my mom always tells, like specifically about RoboCop and everything, when I was like 8 or I don't know 5
Wait, your
maybe.
mom told you stories about RoboCop?
No, I watched R-rated movies when I was like 5.
Same.
So I watched
Same.
Aliens and RoboCop like right out of the theater.
Commando.
Yeah, and mom like walks in and she's like watches the guy get his hand blown off by a shotgun, and she's like, "Oh, I can't believe you're watching." It's like, it's just make believe, Mom. Like that's what I would tell her. Like, it doesn't
Because
matter.
she taught
Wait,
you about
you said that to her, or she said that
I
to you?
said that to her.
Okay.
I said my mom, like I understood the difference. Like it's entertainment. It's fiction.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's an important conversation to have with your children.
It's the people who shield their children completely from fiction before even bothering to explain the difference that is
Right.
what really gets you into trouble. And then
Well, it's the same thing with sex, right? And I'm not a parent, so it's easy for me to like sit here and posture about this. But it's like, from what I know about my friends who are from Europe, and they're fairly healthy about nudity and sex and everything. And it's like it is what it is. It's a lot of a healthier attitude as opposed to the States with the puritanical roots, where it's just like, oh my God, boobs, the very thing that we feed our children with, no one can see.
That's right. That's right.
I was gonna say, after I told that to my mom, she had no problem with me watching R-rated movies. After that, she didn't
you
care. Like,
Clearly,
Well, that
she
must
trusted
be
you
a
to make
great-
the distinction.
yeah.
Yeah.
well, that's a great moment when your kid looks at you and like, it's not real. You're like, oh, well, fuck it. Go ahead.
Until the kid wakes up with nightmares and comes into your room. And
well, to be
is
fair,
crying.
I did have nightmares about aliens and stuff, but I settled that with Alien Isolation.
Okay, very good. Well done.
Glad you found some closure. Nick.
Rebirth therapy there.
That movie was based on my nightmares. Pretty
There
much.
you go.
Or the
See,
game.
you're,
that game,
was.
yeah.
You're sitting around watching rated R movies, and I'm staying up all night staring at a weird Doctor Doom poster that was in my room that my brother put up that scared the living shit out of me. And I would wake up every night and stare at it.
We had all those 80s metals posters up and around. We had the Quiet Riot one, which had kind of the Man in the Iron Mask thing. And I remember when I was a kid, my brothers had an 8-track. I'm showing my age. And they had like all these like album covers that were like from like Styx and like Ozzy and all that stuff. And I'm seeing these rock stars who these like sweaty dudes with purple lights on them like rocking out. I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? They're amazing. They're kicking ass. They're in front of like thousands and thousands of people, and people just love them and want to be them. And to this day, I still love 80s hair metal.
There you go.
As well, you should.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
I want to go watch Spinal Tap.
It's a good idea. All right, we're gonna take a quick break with a couple fancy fucking announcements for your listening pleasure, and we'll be back with the show here very, very soon. Thanks. All right, so we've been promising big news for a few weeks now, and having Cliff on as a guest is a huge deal for us, and we sincerely hope that you think so too. Hopefully it's an indicator of where the show is, and for those faithful listeners, an indication of what's to come based on where we started. With much fanfare and excitement, we're excited to announce that we're launching a Patreon crowdfunding campaign specifically for this show and our Little Cheat Codes company. We're hoping you can help us keep this show going as our costs mount and even help fund new content. We're going to post a link to the Patreon page with this episode's post on our website, and you're obviously smart enough to know what to do from there. Because of you, we've gotten this far, and we need you to help us go even further. You can check out all the cool rewards we're offering to justify your generous contributions. We sincerely love doing this show, and we think that the time is right to allow you folks to help us keep making it even more awesome. If you can donate, great. If now isn't the right time, stick with us. We'll prove to you we're worth your hard-earned cash. In the meantime, keep enjoying the show. It's always going to be free, we promise. We're grateful for any help that you can give, and we're excited to reward you accordingly. Hit that link on our website and consider the possibilities. Thank you so much, everybody.
2 weeks ago, we offered up 10 Cortex Command Steam keys, courtesy of our pal Vlad Miku, to ring in our 100th episode. You folks seemed real eager to get your hands on this one, and we're happy to announce the 10 winners are Mike N, Sagitator, Ashley H, Melixa S, Edviras B, Marta C, Ryan C, John C, Anonymaja, Andre S. Congrats to all, and thanks to everyone who entered. But wait, there's more! We've got 10 more Cortex Command keys to give away. Make sure to hit us up on cheatcodespodcast.com to check out all the ways you can enter to win. Good luck, as always, and enjoy free games.
All right, panel, it's time for the lightning round, generally where the show breaks down in the best possible way. And here's how it works. We're going to take 2 quick topics and give each member of the panel a minute to chime in, uninterrupted for the most part. At the end of each minute, we will award the panelist a quantity of some type of points based on nothing in particular. So topic the first. During the Ubisoft press conference for E3, we were all party to the long-awaited follow-up to South Park: The Stick of Truth. We're getting South Park: The Fractured Butthole. Pause for effect. But in interviews regarding the gameplay and cinematic trailers, Trey Parker and Matt Stone were asked about the future of South Park, and after a little prodding, conceded that there was a possibility that TV may be secondary to the video games as a platform for the long-running and essential show/universe. I put essential in because I don't want to live in a world without South Park. But tell me why this is awesome or not. Tell me why this is bullshit or not, and or knowing what their production schedule is like, why this might make more or less sense for their own personal well-being. Mr. Morris, I'm going to give you the first minute to tell me whether it's good or bad that South Park leaves the show, like, hypothetically speaking, stops making episodes and just makes games from now on.
Well, I mean, I don't know what their production schedule is like on the TV show, but I imagine it's probably fairly intense. Not that production schedules on video games are not probably equally as intense, but I think this is sort of a legitimate avenue for them to tell more stories, especially because they've got all of this lore already built in. Like it seems like a natural extension. They really fumbled with South Park games early on, but that last one that Obsidian did was knocked it out of the park. So if they kind of want to keep going down this avenue and they sort of figured out the formula, I think it's great for them. And obviously it's been very profitable as well.
You have 20 seconds left if you want to use it.
No.
That's it, dude.
All right.
I got nothing more
I will
to say.
award you a superpower that revolves around farting. Congratulations.
I already have that. You have to give me a different one.
Then I award you the name New Kid. All right. Mr. Arroyo.
Oh, yeah. This actually reminds me of the documentary they did. It's called 6 Days to Air, I believe.
Yes.
And this just shows how quickly they could turn around and put out a fucking episode with the technology that they have and the kick-ass animators that they have and all that stuff, and the insane stress of the iterative process. Reminds me of the Game of Thrones thing where shit never goes right for them at all, and they have to keep adapting until they actually finally release something. And I think when they put it in the game space, it kind of seems logical in a way. Granted, they're not going to make a game in 6 days, but once they have the framework built up where they can actually create new content constantly and basically release episodes in a DLC kind of way, I don't really see why they can't pull this off. It'll be obviously longer time between them, but I loved the game, so I'm super excited for the possibility of it in 4 or 5 years.
Probably.
Yeah.
If that. I think they got renewed for a new 3, so there you go. I will award you a stick full of truth. Yay.
It's not so bad.
Nick,
Hey, how's it going?
go for it.
I got mixed feelings about this because I think the meat of this question is would you prefer the series or the game? And if I had to choose, in a way, like which one is a better outlet for South Park? And I first glance, I would say it'd be the show, because the show's, it's always been topical. It's always been about like what's happening currently in the news and what's been happening, except for the past 2 or 3 seasons where it's been like one long running plot point with mixed in with topical stuff, and that kind of format would work really well with a game. But as somebody who likes watching people play games more than actually playing them, usually it's I feel like I feel like I just watched the show instead. Like I'd prefer the show. The game was cool, but it came out like 2 years ago already. So
Sure.
for them to release them, they'd have to like release it every year, like they would a season.
I'm going to award you 1 stake in the future Telltale Games franchise of South Park.
So gonna say that.
That would be amazing.
You're stealing all my shit, guys.
His turn then, yeah.
Yes, we're going to... Cliff, you get your minute coming right now. 60 seconds, and you're on the clock.
60 seconds coming right at your face. So I've been a fan of South Park for many, many years. I remember seeing the original Jesus versus Santa Claus when I was working on the first Unreal and the George Clooney tape that was commissioned. I knew it had a lot of potential back then, even though the pilot that was done after that was not that good. The fact of the matter is, the show for me has always been about topical subjects, as well as like this weird white dysfunction in the middle of Colorado, which they've talked about in Bowling for Columbine, the Michael Moore film. And I think the game was fantastic the last time. It was one of those ones where I'm like a 10-year-old boy and I'm clenching my anus, mashing the X button in order to break off like an alien probe in order to beat the aliens. And I think the episodic nature of something like Telltale will be necessary, and the iterative nature of game development make it very difficult for whoever makes it to capture their biting satire and wit and pull that off in a timely fashion in order for it to be relevant with their satire. That said, the last thing I want to see is the South Park game played on TwitchTube or Twitch or YouTube by some kid fucking yammering over it the whole time, because I want to see the biting wit and good voice acting.
Can I award him something?
Holy shit, that was down to the 3-second mark.
I felt like I was listening to a Micro Machines commercial just then, but that was...
I kind of
Decepticons.
I kind of want to award you like a 0.5 playback speed so that it's a little bit slower.
like a YouTube video.
It's pretty fast.
Fast, you think too slow.
Zing.
Oh, Nick. All right, well done, sir.
That's why I can't sleep.
Jesus Christ, that was fantastic.
That was pretty great. That was,
like
good. That was good.
perfect.
That was a solid minute right there.
You've probably done your fair share of interviews to know.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
It pretty much is freestyle rapping with bullshit, half of what I do.
I expected to rhyme next time.
Yeah.
Rhyme time.
Step up your game, bro.
And come on time.
All right.
Your turn, Erskine.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, really quick, before Erskine starts his minute, our guest gets to award him the points, so keep an eye on his minute, Cliff, and think about what you might award Erskine when he finishes.
Absolutely.
And I don't mean never mind. Go ahead.
No pressure. Okay, not to agree, but I'll try and kind of like play both sides here a little bit. I think it would be kind of a cool thing. Like we've seen a similar situation with The Simpsons, where it's a show has gone on for 20 plus years. I think they're coming up on season 20 now, as far in terms of South Park. And when you get to a certain point where I think South Park has kind of solved a certain problem that The Simpsons couldn't, where it's about relevancy, and that being topical keeps them there. When you talk about the transition from being a show to a game, we've never seen kind of like The Simpsons ever take a true stab at it, and we have seen South Park do it. They've established themselves; it exists as a thing. So if they were going to continue in that trend, it makes a certain amount of sense. When you talk about the production schedule and making things relevant to themselves and keeping things going and being sane over an arduous creative process, I don't think it would be much different. And they're obviously very, very comfortable in that space as much as one can be. So more power to them if they make the transition. I'm going to keep playing South Park games, so fuck it.
Cool.
Fuck it.
All right, what does he get, Cliff?
That's your answer to everything. Fuck it. I think what I'm going to give all of you guys is a gift certificate for my interior designer, because clearly you fucking need one.
I don't live here.
Then you can gift it to one of the other folks. This is the most like bachelor fucking room. They needed like a futon like a poster of like an '80s Lamborghini in the corner.
There is nothing in this room.
There is.
We got a football blanket.
And
football
a Packers blanket.
You're being held in like a nondescript bunker so people can't track.
No,
you
this
down.
is great. This is the room my wife does not enter.
So you're saying it's the Spanctuary?
No comment.
Yeah. All right. Topic the second. So this was news to me, but the fact that there's a rad conspiracy about the world's elite that says they're lizard people overlords makes me chuckle. Either like Obama watching election coverage or a kid seeing a sex scene for the first time in a movie. It's weird how all this is kind of coming together. Mark Zuckerberg recently faced this gauntlet at a conference and brushed it aside, but is there validity to it? I mean, not that anyone is really a lizard person, but what if? Cliff, are you a lizard person? Come on.
That's what they want you to think.
Blow this thing wide open for us. Are we better off with lizard people as our government, tech, and philanthropic leaders? What does it take to come to a conclusion like this? Would it even be better if he just admitted it, even joking, from Mark's standpoint anyway? The world just wants to know. We're going to sound like a tabloid right now, and I don't give a fuck. I'm genuinely interested just to hear you guys riff on this whole idea that, A, there's a conspiracy theory that there are
Lizard people?
There are lizard people, and whether or not Mark Zuckerberg might be one of them. Nick, I'm going to give you the first minute.
I honestly, I don't have much to say about this.
That's fine.
I believe there could be lizard people. Do I?
Okay.
I said could be. Believe there could be.
Keeping an open mind.
Do I believe Hitler and Sailor Palin are one of them? Yeah, probably, because I've seen the Sky Captures the World Tomorrow. No, not that one. It was the Nazi moon zombie one. No zombies. I can't even remember. Whatever.
Keep going. You got 30 seconds left.
It was that one movie that was fan-funded, made in Sweden, I think, and it was about Nazis going to the moon, and at the end of it, they go to the core of the Earth, and it's the trailer for the next one.
Oh my god! Shut the fuck up.
And Sailor Palin and Hitler are lizard people. It's a real thing. Could Mark Zuckerberg? Probably. I mean, it would make sense in the satire sense of the movie, but
You good?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna award you one a Netflix contract where you get to pick which movies.
Iron Skies.
There you go.
Iron Skies.
Yeah, congratulations. He remembered. I'm gonna award you a Netflix contract where you just get to choose the dumb, cheesy movies that get chosen.
Have you not seen that movie?
I've seen it.
It's fucking
We're gonna
amazing.
move on. Mr. Arroyo, you got a minute. Go for it.
Just like we can be in a simulation, or we can. I mean, there's nothing to say that any one of us isn't a lizard or a robot or a weird simulated entity of some sorts. Mm-hmm. We're never going to know. I can't even prove that you have consciousness. There's nothing. I know I have it because I believe it, but you don't fucking know that I have it, and I don't know that you have it. In fact, I'm pretty confident you don't, but that's a different thing. That's my own personal fucking opinion, right? And that's all I have. So whether you're a lizard person or an idiot, it's for me to decide in my own model of you.
Okay.
I love you, by the way. I feel really bad I targeted you. That's all I have to say. I'm gonna cede the rest of my time.
I'm gonna award you a big fucking bag of dicks. How about that? You're welcome.
Are they gonna be all squished up in there together?
Yeah. Mr. Morris, give me a minute, please.
All right, look, so everything that I learned from watching Ancient Aliens, which is an actual historical documentary, is that lizard people as aliens came to our planet, made humans, had them mine gold, build pyramids, were actually their spaceships, and then infiltrated our world governments. And so, yeah, Elon Musk, whatever, Nikola Tesla, Mark Zuckerberg, Obama,
Hitler,
Sarah
Sailor
Palin, they're all lizard people.
Walt Disney. Yeah.
They feed off of human misery, and they eat gold, and they're here to stay. They founded the Illuminati, right? So that's a real thing. And the Freemasons are just kind of like a wannabe, like sort of like the cover band for the Illuminati and the lizard people. And that dude with the crazy hair, he nailed it, right? He knows. That's why people think he's crazy, because like lizard people. It's great. It's perfect. Yeah, just be careful when you're walking down the street late at night. Someone comes out of a dark alleyway. 50-50 chance it's a lizard person.
I ain't fucking with those odds.
Yeah, right.
It's probably higher than 50%.
Chris, I don't even know what to award you, but it was a solid minute.
Sweet haircut.
I'm gonna award you a sweet fucking haircut.
Thank you.
God
like
knows,
he currently has.
like you got a pretty sweet haircut right now. I gotta tell you, buddy. All right, my minute, and Cliff will give you the last one here shortly to send us off appropriately. All right, if there are lizard people, I personally welcome their existence, and I hope to learn their ways of how to exist as a cold-blooded creature. Especially since global warming is a thing, I feel like survival might become in our best interest at that point. However, the idea that these people are our leaders is fucking hilarious and awesome, and I want more conspiracy theories like this. So anybody who's out there like cooking this shit up in a little cauldron like a bunch of dumb Hamlet witches, I want more of this, please. This would be great. I just want to know. Like, why did you settle on lizard and not like ostrich or like armadillo, for instance? Like, why lizard? Like, I mean, is it just like I don't know? It's fine either way, and I'm cool with it. Let's just keep it going. Mark Zuckerberg, you're fucking suspect.
Cliff, feel free to award Joe Erskine points for that.
I think I'm going to give him a bronze statue of the tea lizard meme.
Yes, I'm so
good
glad
one.
someone brought that up.
Good one.
Good Morning America got Kermit the
Yep.
Frog with the deal with the T wrong and called him Tea Lizard. And then they responded with Kermit on air talking about it, which was brilliant.
I actually saw that. Really quickly, for the listeners
Yeah,
who
go
don't
ahead.
know, there's that. You guys know the famous Kermit the Frog meme where he's sipping tea?
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, it's always a thoughtful
But it's none of
meme
my
or something.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Good Morning America used it, and they hashtagged Tea Lizard
Tea lizard.
What?
for Kermit the Frog.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right. Mr. Bleszinski, if you would be so kind as to give us a final 60 seconds to round out the show.
All right, ready?
I hope so.
Rock and roll.
First off, when you talk about Kermit the Frog, Kermit's an amphibian, not a reptile, and there's a big difference between the two. One is more water-bearing, etc. The thing about the lizard people is the myth actually originated in the 80s TV series called V, The Final Battle, which was later remade by Jace Hall, starring the girl who played the concubine on Firefly, in which lizard people came to the Earth in order to steal all of our water, and if you tore their face off, you'd see the lizardness, right? So the fact of the matter is we've gotten to the point with Hollywood prosthetics and CG where these people could actually be lizard people, not even have to wear the prosthetics. They could just go on TV with like Snapchat type filter shit to hide the fact that they're lizard people. And the truth of the matter is, you know, you talk about Walt Disney. Walt Disney's head has been cut off because he was a lizard person. Well, you know, lizards also have their tails snap off and grow back, so maybe Walt's head's just going to grow back on and it's going to rise and be the leader of all of our lizard people and lead us into Never Never Land.
Holy shit.
I feel like you just need to drop the mic off the fucking table right now.
It was pretty good. I'm going to award you
Access to the Disney Vault.
I think the Prince Vault might be more valuable.
Yeah,
But
Not the Michael Jackson one.
no, I'm gonna award you every Charles Bukowski book that I can ever think of, just because the stream of consciousness that comes through here in these 2 60-second bits was very impressive, and we appreciate it. So
Or
thank you.
Dostoevsky novel starring
Yeah,
clowns.
starring clowns. That's good. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, man. To wrap it all up, I'd say that we've done some sort of work here, gentlemen. Episode 101 is in the bag. Cliff, thanks for being here, man. We really appreciate it, and it was super fun.
Appreciate you having me, kids.
It was it was super fun talking with you. We are very much looking forward to Lawbreakers and everything it has in store. Do us a favor, please, and say what's up to Jack Manhorn and Josh Parker for us, previous guests on this show.
I will punch them in the dick.
Yes.
That's totally what we meant.
Acceptable.
That's all we're asking.
And please take good care of Chris, because we miss him. But
Punch me in the dick.
Yeah, you could do that. If you want.
you can
That's fine.
please punch Chris in the dick. Thank you.
We haze him properly.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for being here, dear listener. I know that we're always curious to hear what you think. So please hit us up over at cheatcodespodcast.com, Facebook and Twitter pages, and get in on the conversation, if you please. That'll do it for us for now. Make sure you check out the Patreon page. It's a big day where we've launched. So, we're happy to have you help us keep the show going. Hugs and kisses, everybody. We'll see you next week for 102. You want to do the last line, Cliff? Come on, give me a little wubba lubba dub dub. Wubba lubba dub dub, you motherfuckers.
Rick!
We'll see you next week.